Well, here to talk about social media's impact on our lives is the founder of Faith Tech, a global tech community for Christ. Welcome back, James. Great to see you.
Hey, Lori, how are you? Good to see you again.
Well, we're doing great. Can you believe that number of people across Canada using social media?
Well, what's really interesting about that is that's even lower than a lot of other places around the world. I mean, the vast majority of people are now online. Social media is almost the primary tool of engagement for a lot of people around the world. And so this technology world is all around us, and we've got to figure out how do we live as people that love Jesus in this complicated technological world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it is about it's the language of our time, right? And so
Mm,
your organization, Faith Tech, has become a global movement bridging the gap. I love this between faith and technology. Wow.
mm.
So tell us what continues to motivate you, James, and you and your team. Why do you do what you do?
Well, there's a global movement taking place. I wouldn't even call Faith Tech the movement. I would say Faith Tech's a part of a global movement happening around the world where you have people that love Jesus working in the tech industry all around the world, in the biggest companies like Google and Apple and Amazon and startups. And they're all going, hang on, I love Jesus. And I'm really skilled at this thing called technology that's influencing the world at enormous heights. So, how do I, as a follower of Jesus, live out my faith in this tech space and steward my skills to glorify God? So, what's happening for us as Faith Tech is there's people all around the world now that are reaching out to us going, can I start my own Faith Tech community in my city? So what started 5 years ago in Waterloo, Ontario, Canada, we now have a list of over 200 people that range all across the world that are asking us, can I start my own Faith Tech community, gathering together believers to think about technology, build on technology, create technology for the gospel all
Wow.
around the world. And it's just to be a part of it in honesty is a treat. It's a privilege. And yeah, God's doing a really cool thing right now around the world.
Well, it's amazing what starts in Waterloo, right? And it here it is.
Yeah.
I love that you're building communities. Like
Mm,
you're welcoming people to work together actually to solve real world problems in Jesus'
yeah.
name. So give us a recent example of one of those problems and how it's being addressed in these communities.
Well, the examples are I would have so many by God's grace, but one that is actually tied. I was on the show a couple years ago, and I told this story about how there was about 8,000 people a month in Canada who would go on Google and search the phrase "how to kill yourself," and the top result was 7 easy, painless ways to kill yourself. So a team bought the website howtokillyourself.org. And when people searched it, instead of the websites that showed them how, they got this website that said, you're not alone. And now that website over the last 5 years have literally saved many people's lives. It's amazing. Now in Vancouver, a couple years after that, a team found out that in Vancouver, all these people go online to search how to buy sex. And the results were go here and go do this. So they bought the website howtobuysex.org. And they also created a site that said, okay, how do we get you help? How do we get you out of this cycle that's harming you and so many others? This has now recently turned into an entire ministry. It's called Searching for Hope, where the team is buying up the world's worst websites and redeeming them for Jesus. So, I mean, we own websites like howtomurder.com, how to buy cocaine, how to buy heroin, like all sorts of horrible websites. And we're going, how do we redeem them for the name and fame of Jesus Christ and lead people down a path that was a path of darkness and now lead them down a path of light in Jesus Christ? And so you kind of step back, right, Lori, and you go, wait, those are websites. Like, how do you do that? And it's just trying to understand how, as we as people are interacting with each other now and through the internet, And how do we leverage the technology, innovate with the technology to connect with people to Jesus and each other? And so this is one example where I'm blown away. Like how do people do this? There's people all around the world coming up with ideas like this right now.
Well,
It's multiple.
I'm blown away myself. I mean, but it just makes me think that's how Jesus operated when he was on earth. Like the real questions, the soul searching questions people have, he was there, he connected with them, he provided a way out. And I think this is a beautiful example of the work of Jesus. Wow. Well, social media is a powerful tool, we agree, and it's both in its ability to reach people, like you're just talking about, and to connect people. So, what do you see is the continued impact of social media on our culture?
Yeah, well, it's the impact is happening in multiple ways. I had a friend recently say, James, I feel more connected than ever and less connected than ever. I was like, oh, what does that mean? How do you feel those things at the same time? And what he was saying was, in my world of social media, I now have more connections than I ever did before. I'm connected with more people, family, friends that I long to stay connected with and know what they're up to. But I also feel like the depth is not there as much with as
Mm.
many people. And it's missing out on some of the depth, and that really made me think, because social media again has the opportunity to be leveraged for amazing things. And again, I can tell you lots of stories about how God is leveraging social media to save lives, bring people to Jesus, amazing things. But it also can be used in such a way that pulls us away from each other, pulls us away from relationship, pulls us away from God. And this is why, for me, I'm a huge advocate of saying God's view of technology is both one of idolatry and opportunity, right?
Mm.
But we vastly misunderstand and undervalue both of those things. And so to think critically as believers in Jesus Christ on how social media is affecting us, and then figuring out boundaries around our technology and the way it's influencing us, is going to be critical, both in our personal lives and as a global church, so that we can understand how to leverage and use this technology in a God glorifying way.
Wow. Well, let's talk more about that. We'll be right back with more on the social media impact with James Kelly.